people. So when you got that job at McDonald's, and if you had a family, which hopefully you're going to be smart enough, or will be or have been smart enough not to have the family until you have a better job than the McDonald's job. But in any event, I won't get into personal counseling with you because you seem like but anyway, I saw Jackie Mason the other night, and that's what he loved to do, is walk around and pick on people. But that's not my style. But the Earned Income Tax Credit says if you earn the minimum wage, let's use $6 an hour, 2,000 hours, that's 12,000 a year. 2,000 hours in a year, that's 12,000 a year, right? If you have 2 kids, you can get an Earned Income Tax Credit. Notice that you file your tax, and instead of paying it, you get $4,200 back. Okay, and that is literally billions of dollars coming back around the idea of making work pay. Now, to me, that makes a lot of sense. Rather than paying people to stay home on the couch, we're now paying people to get a job that might be less than the income that they need, but then supplementing that. And that's what's going on. That is a bipartisan thing. That's something that both parties agree on, and it is now the biggest benefit that people get. So that is a big thing. And Colorado, the percent unclaimed, and this is information that came from the IRS, and they have a chart and they go around and talk about this. 76% of the Earned Income Tax Credit that belongs to Colorado citizens is unclaimed, and that's about $135 million. So, you know, let's get hot. You know, find these people who are making these, if you're concerned at all about the working poor, you ought to get them the form to fill out. Hugo Black, who was a justice of the Supreme Court, has a son who's a professor at the University of Alabama, and he's made a passion out of getting everybody in Alabama who is entitled to an Earned Income Tax Credit. You need a Colorado version of Justice Black's son, because this is a lot of money that is unclaimed that ought to go to Colorado. So that's a bit about policy, but you can see that the policy situation could be a lot better in Colorado and in many states. But there are some that are really good, and then there are examples that are right up there at the top. So the problem is not about money, and it's not about jobs. It's about people in this room and people in El Paso County doing the things that need to be done. Now, there are enemies of this process. The State Employees Union has turned out to be one of my enemies. I was threatened, you know. Henry, the head of the union, came into my office and he said, I just want you to know, if anything you do has anything to do with affecting any of my workers in any way, I'm against it. And I said, but I thought your workers were interested in helping these poor people that need help. I mean, I'm here to help them. And we had this sort of stupid discussion for a while, and finally I said, I'm going to do what's necessary to help the people that your people are supposed to be helping, and I hope you'll work with me on it. And we ended up not fighting too badly, but that's how you start when you're trying to change the system. Other enemies are the providers, the people that are getting the money to help, you know, alcohol and substance abuse clinics, private providers. They don't want these customers to go away. It scares the hell out of them. So that's a tough one. I know it's not everybody. I know a lot of people would be happy to have nobody to serve and be able to go on and do some other social work. But I'm telling you, there's a meaningful portion of them. And when we integrated the programs, the alcohol and substance abuse people fought us tooth and nail in the legislature because they like their own department with their own people running it who give them their contracts. And it's what they call it, what a friend of mine wrote a book called A Vealocracy. You fatten the taxpayer's calf with taxpayers' money, you pen the calf down, and then you feed off of it. And that's what goes on, and you have to fight that. So, but there's a big payoff from all of this, and I'm about ready to finish, believe it or not. And I'm pretty much on the schedule that I said I would be on. And that is, there's a massive payoff if you do this. Giving somebody the chance to work and to have the kind of life that has that satisfaction of doing something is a gift of enormous importance. And it brought tears to my eyes. There was we had so much going on in Metro Chicago of UPS, where we had the 50 test cases and 37 of them run, that I persuaded the President of the United States to come and look at it. And I had been assistant campaign manager, and he was a guy 3 doors down from me for about a year. And so he came out, and I wrote his talking points, and I wrote Mayor Daley's talking points, and I wrote the CEO of UPS's talking points. But I didn't write the talking points for the fourth person who was on that stage in front of 2,000 people and the television cameras in downtown Chicago. And that was a young lady who had 8 kids, who had been on welfare for 15 years, who had worked at UPS for 3 years, and she didn't have her GED when she started. She was so good that she became a manager, and she became a stockholder. And there she was, up on the stage with the President of the United States, the Mayor of Chicago, the CEO of a company with 430,000 people in it, and she gave the most articulate talk about how her life had been changed, and how proud her kids were to see her get up in the morning and go to work. And you know what? That made it worthwhile. It made it, whatever I'm doing, when you see that, that's all you need to keep you going. And I think that kind of an excitement, that kind of satisfaction, is what I call psychic income. You need enough of the other to keep bread on the table, but you need the psychic income really probably even more. So in the future, you end up with lower crime. There's no question if people have jobs, the crime is lower. There's no question you'll end up with lower taxes. The amount of money we spend on welfare now is the same amount, not indexed for inflation, as we were spending in 1996. And that is because the welfare rolls have gone down, and the states are really doing quite well because they're getting the same amount of money, and they've got only a fraction of the people, and they're using that extra money for job training and for child care primarily, but also other things. So your taxes would be under greater pressure if it weren't for welfare reform already. And the marriage rate, Minnesota is saying that the marriage rate is higher because the economic conditions in these families in the tough parts of town are better. The future, we've got to do a better job with the fathers, and that's where ex-offender reentry comes in. That's a whole other speech on some whole other dinner. But it's a very important thing. There's 630,000 men mostly, but not entirely, coming out of prison each year. And 2/3 of them end up going back in. And this is not right. When you've paid your price, you deserve the chance to get a job. But they're going to need some help in order to do that, and they're not getting that help. Congress needs to do a better job. They need to take that crazy system and they need to consolidate it. I went to Obama afterwards when he was in the Senate to talk to him about this, and I think it is bipartisan, and I think he could be helpful on that, although he was too busy at that time, I think, to really put something behind it. All it is bringing private sector's basics. Now, what you can do, it's in the last handout, number 6. You can find yourself in here, whether you're a business person, a journalist, a student, a homemaker, or whatever, and it's how you can get in. College student, talks about volunteering and so forth. This is a sign that we got in, it fell off. So welfare isn't good enough for those that remain. Work is at the heart of a happy life. We've got to reach beyond ourselves and do this. There's nothing more important that you can do. So I'll let you go. I will look forward to your astute, penetrating questions that will make me stammer and stutter. But that will show that you're engaged and that you care. Thank you very much.